Hello guys, how are you? So here we are in this new set, at least for today. Very mineral, very rocky, very impermanent. Shows, highlights a long time. And I like it because of that. I also have a contrast, a more organic and present thing here, which are plants, mineral and plants, complementary. There are complements, right? And why do I have these plants? There's rosemary and there is thyme, just freshly gathered this morning nearby. Well, I wanted to talk today about introspection, about how can we create a longer, a better short term or a better reality by just changing our mindset. And the way I wanted to start was by engaging with my reality at this precise moment. When you watch this reality won't be, but it will remain because you'll recall it. So that's a type of celebration that's related to what I'm going to talk to you right now. So let's start with my morning. I just woke up by twilight. That very special moment that in the morning that resembles the end of the day as well. Light is very diminished, it's dim, everything gets a depth. There is mist also in the ambient. Plants are covered with humidity. And we are in spring, so there are lots of sensorial things I can explain to you, but you cannot feel because it involves smells. There are scents from natural oils, from trees and plants, and so since we are by a natural park, by some hills, on the other side of which you have a view to the Mediterranean, I thought that it was a good beginning to start this video explaining that there is a previous part that belonged to it as well, which is my morning run up there. And then once I got up from the very bottom, let's say 1,500 feet to that balcony towards the Mediterranean, I was surrounded by this forest and like frenzy of bushes and also plants like rosemary, very fresh, it's not bushy at all. Can you see these? How just tender they are. And thyme. Thyme was just blossoming. I had the feeling that it was blossoming. It was like a high-speed camera in a way because it was blossoming in front of me. I could sort of transcend this very moment, and I just grasp a little bit of the past and of the future, and you sort of create this metaphor. That is part of this video too, because what's happening now is that we are losing these little opportunities to engage with our surroundings because there is always something that is bothering us because we have so many things to do and we are running after chasing time, right? And there are things to do, so we cannot spend time or waste, we use the word waste time for that precise thing. We just need to get there to finish this thing we are missing, and once we finish that thing, will be able to dedicate time, right? It's not that easy to just escape from that mentality. And in order to talk about this problem we are facing, maybe we could imagine a gardener, somebody working on a garden, or engaging with a forest nearby, for example, like the forest I was explaining to you, that marked my morning in a good way. A gardener can have a different attitude as well towards reality. He can sort of rush into the moment and try to finish fast and just leave the area and treat their surroundings very coldly, because the goal is the utility. The garden is set, the garden is water, so I leave. Or we can have a different attitude, comprehension that a garden is a very complex system we are helping maintain, but it's also, because it's a garden, it's maintaining itself in a way, and we are sort of engaging and celebrating it, and we just get some benefit from it. Actually, the garden maintains us. Sometimes we just forget. A garden maintains us. It's a connection between us and the garden. Let's remember this is a metaphor. A garden can be different things. It's a way we engage with reality, with things that matter for us. So this sort of back and forth, this sort of dance, very rich dance we engage with gardens, with plants, but also with the elements, animals that visit, also different size of, there can be birds, can be mammals, but also teeny animals, insects, and so forth. Also fungi. There is a whole system we can comprehend, we can try to embrace. We sense the complexity of it. We cannot explain the whole thing. We cannot have the total formula. Yet we are welcoming it. We are opening our perception to it. And by celebrating it, we know more and more. And we like it, right? So somehow there is a lack of perspective of being a gardener, that way, of maintaining complex systems in our society today. Why? Well, our relationship with our very current moment, is very complicated these days, right? Why? Well, let's go back to 19th century. I would like to talk about how idealism was the prevalent mentality of the times. And one of its important theorists, philosophers, Hegel, he just used one word to explain how we are part of a process, he thought, that we could call historicism. We come from a place and we want to go to another place in history, so we are evolving. The idea of progress comes from this. He thought about the term zeitgeist, the spirit of the moment. Zeitgeist is the fad of what's going on. And in our society today, we just lost track and think we just became so reductionistic that we think that the zeitgeist, the fad of the moment, what's going on in news and also in our surroundings, the mood of things, of people, the products we are getting, we think that's the only reality. That's a construction. Let's acknowledge the zeitgeist is a construction. We can engage with reality in a different way. We can create a better reality by expanding our short-termism. It can become richer. How? Well, That's why I wanted to talk about mentalities. Mentalities are important because introspection for personal growth is something we cultivate. The way we were talking before about the gardener, introspection works the same way. Our conscience is a garden we have to cultivate. We can maintain it with the same lack of responsibility and understanding of somebody who just thinks that it's only the outcome of the harvest what counts, versus another person who understands that it's the maintenance of the system what counts, right? So let's cultivate ourselves with a different mindset. To go beyond the times, or let's say the noise of the zeitgeist, we have to understand that we have an artificial appetite for the immediate that is sort of it's brought to us by the way we build our media, the way we build our surroundings, the way our society works. Again, it's a construction, so let's breathe deeply. Let's understand that's a reality, that it's important to acknowledge and recognize reality. It works the way it does, but there is also choice and there is also perception. We can change the way we see choice and the way we perceive things. Hence, the same world can be different depending on our mindset. So let's go back to another metaphor to try to explain how to change our mindset. Okay, let's get some trees, which are very small. Some teeny stumps, and let's go to a place we think we can grow a forest. We plant those trees today. And planting those trees today, we acknowledge we won't be able to profit, to take advantage of, to enjoy the shade of the growth forest, of the very mature forest that will grow in the future. The change in the mindset is we can understand, we can acknowledge that when we are planting those trees, if we see the whole process, we can embrace it. So when we are planting them, I would like to think that we are already enjoying the shade of those trees in the future. It's not a literal profit of the shade, because that's taking place in the future. We didn't get mad. It's not craziness. It's the understanding of the process of impermanence. It's not comprehending we have limitations, but we have potential through our conscience to see how beautiful these forests can be in the future. It's the celebration of the potential. We are contributing to that potential. Let's celebrate it. So that's a change in mindset that is very important. So people who plant trees that will remain forests, that will become forests, whose shadow they won't enjoy, those people have already the mindset to get the introspection that can expand our everyday. Sometimes we can do little celebratory activities that can be metaphors of this change in mindset. That's why I was bringing this rosemary and this time for you today in this video. You can do it too. Let's do it then. So the risks of this zeitgeist, of this fashion, of this moment, of this superficial thing that is spinning and spinning and spinning, and it's getting us busy all the time, so we cannot grasp how rich and engaging reality can be. These can be an opportunity, but in order to be an opportunity, let's breathe and let's give it away. How? Well, there is no formula. Each one of us is different, but maybe I can explain to you something that happened to somebody, so we relate to that experience and we can think about ourselves. Let's talk about the psychologist Carl Jung. He was influenced by Sigmund Freud, as you will remember. They fought later in their careers, but they became fond of each other. But Carl Jung, when he was just starting on his studies of psychology, he was invited by Freud to cross the Atlantic and go into the United States, because Freud had been invited to do some work at an American university in New England, so they just crossed the Atlantic. Freud just invited some of his pupils. So there you have Carl Jung in this vapor, in this ship, crossing the Atlantic with Freud, and then he had this dream he explained to Freud. The dream goes as follows. We're talking now about Carl Jung's dream on his way to the United States for the first time, 1909, I think that was. So he finds himself in a house that felt comfortable, but it wasn't his very particular house of that moment. He was at the first floor. We're talking about a house with a ground floor and a first floor. The first floor, that was very comfortable, almost contemporary, maybe late 19th century, Rococo, Second Empire style, with nice chairs, with fireplace, painting on the walls, very comfortable, very rational. Then he finds himself there and he thinks inside of the dream, well, I'm in this house, let's explore it. So he goes downstairs through the very nice steps, and he finds himself again on the ground floor on a very nice space. But this floor it feels older, feels more Spartan. It's brick. It's still comfortable, but it's 16th century, almost medieval sort of environment, not as comfortable. Then he sees a way to go into a cellar. And, surprise, the cellar feels older, a little older than the medieval piece. There is a way that connects that cellar with a key, with a vaulted basement. And by the looks of the context, he understands that room is from Roman times. Oh, surprise. The floor of that room has some very big slabs of stone, and one of them has a metal ring. He just pulls from the metal ring and opens that slab, and there is these narrow, very dark steps going down into this very dark cavern that looks like a megalith from primitive times, with some bones that are turning into dust. So Carl Jung is in this dream. The way he interpreted it, even though he didn't tell Sigmund Freud that, he told Sigmund Freud what Sigmund Freud was hoping to find in the dream. But then later, Jung interpreted this dream as as a way to explain how we can be these individuals connected to a long common history that belongs to our species, but also that belongs to individuals taking part in or living in a world, in a surrounding, right? So that house, from the very modern to the very primitive, it's a metaphor of, or an archetype of the expansion of time of our own shadow, right? Our own shadow is our instincts that go far back in time and also project into the future. It's a way we have to decide between extremes all the time. It's our unconscious. And this metaphor or this dream of Carl Jung is a way for us to acknowledge that our reality is not as poor as we've been told it is. We can play with it, we can be enchanted or re-enchanted with reality. We can expand it so it grasps the past, and also it can go far into the future. We can enjoy the shadow of the shade of trees that are teeny, which is planted today, by just imagining it, how it will be in the future. And also we can connect or reconnect with our primitive selves. That's why, for example, it feels good to go for a run up to a hill and look into the sea. I can imagine other people have done it back into time and will do it very far into the future. So with this, I would just like to thank you, and we'll see each other next week. Thank you, Sam Props, for helping with the graphics. And next week, we'll see what it comes. But it's going to be interesting no matter what. Bye.